I really appreciate being here with all my friends from Vital Smarts, and I really appreciate getting a chance to meet some of you and form some new friendships. So breakfast this morning, a number of you came up and and you'd say about the same thing. You'd say, "Oh, you want to hear my favorite impression of you?" And so the thing is, I've got a confession to make in that I've never seen myself on the tapes you guys watch, okay? And so I'd go, yeah, show me your impression. And you do one, and I'd kind of go, two things would go through my mind. The first thing would be, yeah, I can really imagine myself saying that. And the second thing is, wow, if that's your basic takeaway, I am even geekier than I thought. Well, what I do, I'm fortunate today for two things. First, I have 18 minutes to talk to you about one important idea that I think is incredibly critical to our thinking. But then I also have the opportunity this afternoon to spend 90 minutes talking about 6 really cool ideas that relate to kids, how kids behave, and how we behave. So it's a great opportunity today. But today it's mindless eating meets influencer, and that's what we're going to talk about first. Now, how many people have never, ever in their life seen these BMI trends from the Center for Disease Control? Most of us have. Basically what they are is they're maps of how fat we are as Americans. So they're color-coded maps. You look, the color denotes the percentage of people in a state that are over a certain weight, like blue is 15% or more fat. So in 1991, we were doing okay. I mean, we had some pudgy states, but nobody's kind of going all out of control. But in 1996, it's like a competition, In 2003, you can see being the overachieving nation we are, like we're having to add new colors. Okay, yeah. and I work with an unbelievably cool lab, and I've got these guys who know like space-age econometrics and stuff. We decided to figure out what would happen if the same trend in obesity, the same growth in body weight continued for the next few years. What would this map look like in 2025? You guys ready for that in the back here? It's going to be a long... yeah. Pick your state. Well, what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to start with 2 obesity myths. And the first obesity myth is that buffets make us fat, and the second myth is that we're smarter than a cereal bowl. Both myths. And then I'm going to end with 3 changes you could make today if you wanted. 3 easy changes. 3 easy changes. So here's where we're at. This is my favorite quadrant. Now, this afternoon we'll be talking about all 6 quadrants. We'll be showing cool stuff in all 6 quadrants. But this is my favorite quadrant because what it does is structural changes you can make. You don't have to rely on motivation. You just do it once, and you're fine. But here's myth 1. Buffets make us fat. Now, that makes good sense, and you can hear people kind of complain about that and talk about that and point fingers and wag things like this. But the crazy thing is, if you eat at buffets a lot, whether it be a Chinese buffet or a pizza buffet, not everybody there is fat. In fact, about half the people there are pretty darn skinny. It makes you wonder, what is it that skinny people are doing at buffets that heavy people don't? Maybe if we knew, there'd be some insight that we could use so that we could stay healthy and skinny. So you can just sort of make stuff up, or what you can do is you can actually go stare at people while they eat. And we chose option B. Okay. So we observed 423 diners at Chinese buffets in 6 different states across the nation. And we coded people. We sat down, we were sort of mystery diners. We sat down and pretended like we were eating we were just writing things down all the time. So we wrote down everything from how many people they're with, how many times they went up, how they ate, how many times they chewed. I mean, all sorts of stuff. We also even, this is kind of crazy, we even had measures of their BMI because we had these space-age mats developed that had when people stepped on them, it goes, bing, it shows you their weight. And then we had this thing, this kind of laser thing that showed people's height too, you know. But I think it was like blinding people or something, so we had to get rid of that. And so we had all these cool measures of what was going on. Now, what do you think differentiated skinny people from the heavy people? Now, clearly you can say, well, those skinny people probably ate less. What? Huh? Am I right? Am I right? And they ate better? Yeah, sure they did. But what else did they do differently? Now, think of what happens if you've seen skinny people eating at buffets. What do they do differently that their heavy counterparts don't? I'm sorry? They don't eat everything on their plate. And they don't. What else do you think they do differently? Smaller portions, okay. They don't go back quite as much. It's interesting. One of the things we find is that they go back just as many times. It's just they put so little on their plate, and then they don't eat it all either. Well, here's stuff we found. Let's take a look at a skinny person here. Here's what the thin diners did. On average, they sat 16 feet farther away from the buffet than heavy people. 16 feet. Now, 16 feet is not very much. It's essentially from your table to, about your table. Okay? They were 3 times more likely to face away from the food. Okay? About 23% of the people who were skinny faced the food. About 71% of the people who were heavy faced right toward it. Watching. That coconut shrimp chicken, that's not going anywhere. Okay, they're more likely to sit in booths. They're about 3 times more likely to also sit in booths than in tables. They're more likely to have a napkin on their lap. They're more likely to use a small plate. There you go, that's the small portions you're talking about. More likely to use chopsticks. They also chewed 14 times on average, whereas the typical heavy person only chewed 11 times. And the last thing that they did was they were 3 times more likely to scout out the buffet. Okay? Again, it's almost 80% of them, the way they'd approach a buffet is the way a lot of you guys did it today. They would kind of go and they'd get up, they'd kind of look what was going on. Yeah, look at this stuff. Then they'd pick up a plate and go through and cherry pick what they wanted. In contrast to that, the average heavy person, about 70% of them, just went, picked up a plate, and then looked at each item and said, do I want it or do I not want it? No. Do I want it or not want it? Yes. Okay, so let's look at the average heavy person. This a little of an exaggeration, I'm sorry. That's right. Sat closer to the buffet, 16 feet closer, tended to face the buffet, more likely to use a fork instead of chopsticks, more likely to sit at a table, more likely to use a large plate, okay? Now, if you look at this, you say, well, yeah, but that's just correlational. We don't really know if it's causal. But the nice thing is, it's a good way to bet. If you want to be a skinny person, you might want to probably act like one. But the crazy thing was, when we asked some of these people, a subset of these people when they left the buffet, hey, why'd you sit so close to the buffet? Or why did you face away from the buffet? Or why did you scout out the buffet? Or why did you do this? Almost every answer was the same. It was like, I did. And most people had no clue as to why they're doing what they did. It had just become habitual over the time. So one solution for this would be to tell all diners, okay, sit far away and face away, scout at the buffet, use smaller plates, etc. But another solution was a solution a restaurant came up with. And I got this letter from this guy. He said he's an owner of Chinese buffets in central Pennsylvania. I know what's going through your mind. You're saying, really? That's buffets plural in central Pennsylvania? Well, he said, I own some buffets. Thank you. Because of this research, I'm now saving all sorts of money on food costs. And he said, here's what he did. He bought smaller plates. He made chopsticks the default. So you could get a fork if you wanted to, but you had to ask for it. And then you have some waiter or waitress rolling their eyes when they get it for you. Instructed the waitstaff to seat people far from the buffet until the tables filled up, and put all plates behind the buffet to force people to scout out. So they at least had to walk by all the food before they could get their plate. And the last, he put in some buffets, he put plants between the tables and the buffet so people weren't always looking at it going, coconut shrimp. So I called this guy back because there's a really nice written letter, and you could tell English wasn't his first language, and he took the time to do it. And I called him back to thank him. I said, oh, by the way, he said, how many, oh, no, he said, I did it, but it really took me a long time. And I said, oh, why? I mean, it looks like most of these you could do overnight. He goes, I've got 63 buffets. Incredible changes for him that helped him save money, but more importantly, helped people become slim by design, because of the way he did that. Myth number 2 is that we're smarter than a bowl. Okay, and I know, we all think we're smarter than a bowl, but let's take a look at this video.
You ever eat a whole bag of chips when you're not even that hungry? Why? Well, maybe there's something going on that you're not aware of. Finding out what it is could help change the shape you're in. At Cornell University, diners head for lunch at what looks like a restaurant, but is really a lab where students prepare to observe them as they eat. The diners are guinea pigs for research to uncover the secrets of our eating habits.
There's pasta alla bolognese.
Check out this test.
You can take as much as you want.
On this day, they tell the test subjects, you can have a free meal if you simply rate the food for us.
Have a good lunch.
Then the man in a blue shirt, acting as a waiter, says,
go ahead and get some water over there and I'll bring you right over.
That's an excuse for him to take the plate and secretly weigh it. There's a scale under that flowered cloth before bringing it to the diner and then doing this unappetizing thing.
That's gross.
To diner after diner.
I'll get you another plate. I don't feel comfortable like giving this to you.
That gets them to take a second plate and serve themselves again. But the trick is that the second plate is bigger.
Enjoy.
This test is not about rating the food, it's about whether people take less food when they have smaller plates. This woman thought she put more food in a smaller bowl.
I actually noticed I put more in the smaller pasta bowl than I did in the larger plate.
But the opposite was true. She and most everyone put 25% more food on the bigger plates. We're not aware of what we're eating?
Oh, it's amazing. We eat with our eyes, not with our stomach.
Food psychology professor Brian Wansink runs the lab that's been doing this research. And now he's written up the results in a book aptly called Mindless Eating.
We really don't pay much attention to what we eat or how much we eat.
Well, I think I'm paying attention. I'm sure concentrating while I'm shoveling it in.
Well, most people believe that we know when we're full. Well, we don't really know when we're full.
So use small plates?
Oh, absolutely, because these are mindless ways. Now, one of the things we have to finding is that I gave a talk at the Institute of Medicine a short time after we did this original research, and just parenthetically I mentioned this research. And somebody there, I mean, this is a place filled with lots of really smart people who, for some unexplainable reason, all have a British accent. Okay. They could be from Ogden, or they could be from Omaha, and they have an Omaha British accent. Okay. And this guy goes, well, surely something as basic as the size of a bowl wouldn't influence how much an informed, intelligent person eats. Okay? Which is kind of saying, well, willpower and knowledge will solve everything. Okay? Or another way to do this is to just say we're smarter than a bowl. Well, we did a ton of studies on this and cool studies. Some of them you can read in Mindless Eating, but actually in the first chapter of Mindless Eating. But in one case, what I did is for 90 minutes, I told people, look, if I give you a huge bowl of Chex Mix, you're going to take and eat more than if I give you just a slightly smaller bowl. And we talked about this for 90 minutes. Videos, demonstrations, people breaking into work groups, interpretive dancing, I mean, everything. And oh, I know, you want a demonstration. And at the end of that time period, these were informed, intelligent people who still ended up taking, when we invited them back 6 weeks later to a Super Bowl party, took and ate 53% more food. Okay, about 200 calories, 205 calories. Not a big deal if you do it once a year. If you do it every day, it's about 17 more pounds you'd weigh at the end of that year. But what do you suppose when we asked people, when we said, hey, you guys ate 50% more than the other group that were given smaller bowls. Do you think the size of the bowl had anything to do with it? What do you think people said? Oh, come on. But think of the last time you really overate. You overate to the point of regret. Breakfast, dinner. I mean, we should be pretty well calibrated to not overeat, because gosh, we do it 1,000 times a year. But think of the last time you overate, and think of why you overate. Just, you don't have to say why. Okay. Now, if you're like most people, about a group this size, about 12% of you would say the last time I overate, and you'd see something mood or emotion related. You know, I was really bummed out and bored or down or happy. About 50% of you would say the last time you overate was because the food was really, really, really good. And then about 37% of you would say the last time you overate was because you were just really, really hungry. So what happens if we take food that's no good and give it to people who aren't hungry? So we did this in a movie theater. We brought people in who had just eaten dinner. We gave them popcorn that was either in a buckets like this, or that, the ones cost like $14, or the buckets like this that cost $14.05. This is 5-day-old popcorn. It is nasty. And what we end up finding, even with this popcorn, is that people ended up eating about 33% more popcorn if you gave them a big thing. But if you said, hey, you eat 33% more popcorn, was it because you're hungry? They go, no, I wasn't hungry. You say it's because it was good? They go, no, it was terrible. 2 people even asked for their money back. It's like, sure, here's your free money back. But if you ask them, do you think it had anything to do with the size of the bucket? No, it couldn't have. But this influences everything. It even influences how much we pour. All these cues, the plate size, bucket size is just one, but it even influences how much we pour and even what the experts do.
His tests also found that people pour less liquid in the tall, skinny glasses than short, wide ones. Would even a professional bartender fall for that?
Pour the amount of whiskey you'd pour here if you're going to be pouring a whiskey in the rocks.
Wansink asked the owner of this bar to pour a shot into both kinds of glasses.
There we go.
All right.
Were they equal shots? Watch what happens when Wansink pours them into measuring beakers.
Ah, look at that.
He had poured much less into the tall, skinny glass.
That's quite a difference.
It's almost half as much.
In fact, when Wansink asked dozens of bartenders to pour, they averaged 1/3 more liquor in the short, fat glasses.
I guess I'm gonna have to buy more taller glasses.
Now, shortly after we did those studies, I was giving a talk at a large national dietetic group, and I just, again, parenthetically mentioned these findings about the glasses. And at the end, a person runs down kind of way out of the back to be the first to grab the microphone. And this is like the most hyper-dramatic person I've ever heard ask a question. It's like she was channeling Charlton Heston. Okay. Soylent Green is people. She grabs the microphone and she says, if even the professionals are fooled by the cues around us, what hope is there for the rest of us? It was good. It was really good. Right? And I said, the thing is, what we did when we found this out, within 2 days, we got rid of all the short-wide glasses in our lab. Within 2 weeks, most of us got rid of all the short-wide glasses in our house. Because if a glass is going to cause you to overpour, even these bartenders who 2 minutes later we asked them to do it again and they still overpoured, if simply a structural thing like a glass is going to cause you to overpour, what hope do we have to say, no, with my iron willpower and my memory, I will, every time I pour, go, must not overpour. No! Most of us have full-time jobs. We can't have time to do that. The easiest thing to do is just get rid of the things that mess us up. I mean, the secret to mindless eating is not mindful eating for most of us. Okay, if we can do it, that's great, but it's just not going to work for most of us because we have full-time jobs. We come home with to-do lists that are this long. The kids are screaming or fighting. The microwave's buzzing. There's a telemarketer on the phone. For us, the solution is just to change our environment so it works for us and pushes us in the right direction rather than works against us and we can resist it with our superpowers. Even colors of bowls mess things up. But the basic idea is that if our immediate environment causes us to overeat, what we need to do is just change our immediate environment. If big plates cause us to pour more, you use smaller plates. If big bowls cause us to take more or serve more, use smaller bowls. Wide glasses cause us to pour too much juice or too much pop or too much whatever, use narrow glasses. We even find that the first thing you see when you open your cupboard, your refrigerator, you're 3 times more likely to take than the 5th thing you see. So you don't say, okay, now that I know that, I'll be more generous in my selections. It's like, no, just take the healthiest thing and put it where you're going to see it first. Well, what we looked at today is this cue right here. We're going to be looking at a lot of other things this afternoon about these other areas of influence in the realm of food. But I want to leave you with sort of some news that maybe you can take home. And this is, where should you sit when you go to a buffet? Far away and face away. What should you buy next time you go to the Pottery Barn? Small dishes. And what's easier, to change your mind or to change your environment? Yes! Very, very good. Thank you.